All right, Avery Borngrebe, we're going to go through this interview, ordinary holiness, ordinary means of holiness. You're pretty famous probably on the face page because everyone knows Chris Borngrebe is on the face page, so they probably see her all the time. But they might not know who Avery Borngrebe is. So Avery Borngrebe, can you tell us who you are?
Hi, my name's Avery Borngrebe. I just graduated from Scott. I was involved in show choir, campus ministry, Scots for Life, choir, a whole laundry list of things. I'm going to South Dakota State next year. Really exciting.
Awesome.
I have 5 fabulous siblings.
They're not sneaking in your. I think you're always looking back like they're going to jump in on you.
You know, I heard someone trying to get in. So.
Uh-oh. What do you do when you got them siblings running around like that? That's crazy. Well, how about this? So that's who you are. You're involved in a lot of things at Scott, or you were involved in a lot of things at Scott. You've got some exciting things coming up in the future, getting ready to go off to college, so that's going to be great. I think that when I first got here, you were an 8th grader, so it seems like it's crazy how fast, everyone always says it. Gosh, Avery, it's crazy how fast things have gone. Time sure does fly. I'm sure your parents are going to be kind of teary to see you, their first baby girl, leaving the house.
Oh, I know.
It's going to be a deal.
It just feels like it's gone by so fast. Like you don't feel like it. You're like, okay, everyone, it's 4 years.
Right.
Then you're like, where did it go?
Dude, someone told me when I was getting into high school, they did this orientation and they said, this will be the fastest 4 years of your life. And I think it's true, man. That stuff just goes like you wouldn't even believe. Like you were just a freshman just a little bit ago. Well, when it comes to, the main thrust of this interview, we want to talk about the ordinary ways that you found yourself growing in holiness. Now, before we talk about those ordinary ways, there has to be a reason to grow in holiness, and that reason is Jesus Christ. So let's talk about your journey to be somebody, like if you're involved in campus ministry, if you're going to Winnebago, if you're doing the what are they, not Pine Ridge, but Rosebud, if you're in Skyhawks for Life, if you're going to those things, there's got to be a reason. Can you walk us through what got you to start taking Jesus so seriously, going to the Ablazes and things like that we see you at? What got you kind of on fire for Jesus?
My mom really got involved with the music ministry and Ablaze. And then also she made me go to Steubenville my freshman year, but I was on fire, but it was like a little tiny flame and I wanted to nurture it into a little bonfire, if that makes sense. I don't know. But I started really taking my faith seriously the summer before junior year, so about 2 years ago. I just found a lot of like-minded people that would keep me accountable, and I went to church and daily mass with them, and we'd go and have little small groups. And I don't know, I was just working on being really involved with people who could help me grow. Yeah. And so I think that was the biggest thing that helped me get more involved with my faith and helped me have a relationship with Jesus.
So you would say your mom started a little bit of flame in you, just seeing kind of the way that her life was changed by Jesus, but then all of a sudden you started surrounding yourself with these friends and they were able to take that flame and kind of stir that up where you had a lot of good influences and good people around you to help you out with that.
Yes.
Wonderful. Fantastic. I don't know if I've told you this, before I started working at St. Pat's, I think I saw your family because I was at an Ablaze at St. James, which wasn't surprising because that's where Father Michael Vorthofer was at. And I saw this family of 6 kids coming in, and you would have been an 8th grader, but I saw this group. And as I look back on it, I'm like, that was Avery taking care of her little, crazy little siblings, running out with Jonah or Talia or who that, who knows who it was, bumping Aiden because he's just sitting over there in the corner, who knows, get that cool guy thing going on. So it's funny that I think back on that and how a blaze was an important thing in your life. And really, as you talked about, that little flame kind of got that going. So okay, you have this little flame in your life, and I talk about 5 things when it comes to these ordinary ways that we grow in holiness. When we talk about Steubenville, when we talk about Ablaze, those are kind of extraordinary things that can aid our faith, that can give us that spark that we need. But once we go and do those things, we need something every single day to really nurture and keep that flame going. So the 5 things are going to be prayer, sacraments, charity, penance, and study. Those are the 5 things that I talk about. When it comes to, we'll take them one by one. When it comes to prayer, what does the prayer life of Avery Borngrebe look like? How is it changed? How has it grown? What are some things you've seen that have been successful, etc.?
My prayer life has kind of ebbed and flowed, I guess. Last summer, it was really good. I did all this like Lectio Divina stuff and rosaries all the time. But there's some times when my prayer life's just really dry
Yeah.
and it's hard to pray, but I find myself trying to thank God for things throughout my life, throughout the day. And I try to just keep an open conversation with him because I know that if I don't feel God, that it's my fault because it's a two-way street. I can reach out to him and he can also reach out to me. So
Mm-hmm.
I just try to pray even when I don't feel like it because I know that you got to have open communication for a relationship with God to work.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You have these times in your life where you're saying that I sit down and do Lectio, where I'm reading the Bible, I'm journaling, I'm reflecting on these certain scripture passages, and I'm praying the rosary, I'm doing those good things. But I'm also like you said, like I'm keeping that line open. The line's always open. So if there's some communication that God wants to have to me, or I want to have to God, where I'm always kind of keeping him top of mind, where I'm not just like putting him in a box for my Lectio time or putting him in a box for my rosary time. There is that, but it's not just that. There's always kind of a time to sit in there, be talking to God.
Yeah.
Awesome. And would you say that that really kind of took off your junior year when you got more interested in the faith, or had it always been good?
I think it really just took off my junior year because I wasn't really interested in the Lectio or doing the rosaries and stuff because I don't know, I felt dumb doing it by myself, and having other
Mhm.
people to help me and keep me accountable and texting me, hey, did you do your rosary today? Or
Yeah.
hey, have you prayed yet? Has just like really helped me.
Yeah. That's awesome. I think that's so crucial. I think that even with my own son, my oldest son, trying to get him to go out and practice certain sports and stuff like that, it's even hard to practice sports yourself. But once you have other people involved, you're going to be chomping at the bit to do it. And the same thing seems to
Yeah.
play out in the spiritual life. That's a great point. How about, you mentioned a little bit of this in your beginning part, but when it comes to the sacraments, especially the Eucharist, especially confession, how do those look in your life, and how have they looked in your life?
Um, I think with the Eucharist, I experience it the most when I go to adoration, when I can really just like freely worship how I want. But I make it a point to go to mass every Sunday when I can. Of course, now is a weird time,
Sure.
but to receive Jesus and to like, I don't know, just fully experience his love. And with reconciliation, I make it like I try to go. I'm kind of bad at going because I just forget.
Yeah.
But I know that I feel better about my faith life and I can fully like feel God's forgiveness when I go. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, Avery, even though this is like kind of embarrassing, like I'm a sinner,
Yeah.
I need to go in order to feel Jesus' love and forgiveness. So it's like,
Yeah. That's a great point. I would say, like, to the Eucharist thing with your adoration experiences, I would term you and some of your friends, like, in my mind, when you said that, you guys are like adoration junkies, and like I mean that in the nicest way. Like I always see you guys like roaming around the city, like trying to find out like where adoration is. Like I'm gonna go to SVDP, I'm gonna go to a Blaze, I'm gonna go do these things. Like hey, like almost like you're an addict. Like anybody here where the next Jesus sighting is gonna be? Like I gotta get there. I gotta.
me the other day and said, what are you doing on Friday? I said, I'm working. He said, dang it, there's adoration. And I was like, oh my.
That's crazy, dude. But it's like crazy awesome. That's so cool. And then you hit the nail on the head, I think, with confession. How it can be difficult, to keep it top of mind if you're not if you don't have that appointment. If it's a loose scheduled appointment, it's easy to forget it. Or like a car, like a car cleaning or a car wash. Like I probably should really clean that car out, but I'll do it next week because things are piling up, and it can be so easy, especially when you're talking about doing something difficult. It's not easy to confess your sins and to really acknowledge the fact that you're a sinner, even as you said it, like it's kind of embarrassing, but I got this problem of I just keep sinning. I can't help myself, like everybody else, But that's a good point, but trying to like understanding the realities that come from naming your sins and putting them and bringing them to the light and exposing them to Jesus Christ, who is the one that can evaporate these sins and wants us to bring them to him. Excellent. How about this charity? And I'll bring this up because you mentioned Skyhawks for Life. No, sorry, Skyhawks in the City. That's a group that goes out all over the place, and they're always doing good things. They're always helping the least of their brethren. We talk about, I've seen you at Winnebago a couple times, and I think you've gone to Rosebud. Is that right or no?
I have not.
Knock on the rosebud. But you have gone to Winnebago. So when you think about these almost extraordinary acts of charity, you know, when you're out there doing these extraordinary things, like Steubenville's an extraordinary thing. It doesn't happen every day. Winnebago is an extraordinary thing. The trips that people go on for Skyhawks in the city are extraordinary things. It's easy to love the people that you encounter there. You know, it's easy to love those kids at Winnebago. Who doesn't love those kids at Winnebago? Everybody loves those kids at Winnebago. But in this house, you know, you have 5 brothers and sisters. You got a mom and a dad. Those are not easy people to love. But when you talk about charity, like loving your neighbor as yourself, like these are your closest neighbors, and you're called to primarily love them. So how does that look in your life when it comes to loving those who are most difficult to love?
I try to just give everyone the same amount of patience that they give me. Well, okay, maybe I'm a little more because some people get a little but I don't know, like Jonah's a special guy, so you gotta be careful with him.
Love that, Jonah Borngrebe.
I just think being patient and listening to what he has to say, even if it's not the most interesting, you just have to make him feel loved. And especially having a bunch of little siblings, they say a lot of weird things that, like, I didn't know that a whale shark was that big, but thank you for telling me. I'm so glad. And so I think it's just taking the time to nurture them the way that you would want to be, I guess. So
that's a good point. You know, when you talk about like someone coming up to you talk about a whale shark, you know, you might be like, do you know who I am? I'm Avery Borngrebe. I'm a senior at Scott. I got a lot of things going on in my life right now. You know, when you're making yourself big and this person little, but on the flip side, you know, if you can deny yourself and make yourself small and enter into the joys of that other person, that truly is loving that other person for that other person's sake. That's a beautiful thing. Not easy though. I love that, Jonah Borngrebe, man. And I'll tell you what, I think that Talia reminds me of you. Man, Talia, dude, that girl she's got energy for hours and days, man.
She's a little fireball.
That's great. So whenever we want to love somebody else, whenever we're looking at loving somebody else as we love ourselves, there always has to be a little bit of self-denial, like you talked about. Like maybe you have things in your life that are more interesting than whale sharks, but you deny yourself, and that goes into the next one of penance. So in your life, how does it look, you know, and maybe there's 2 ways to approach it. You know, there's certain penitential things we do during Lent, you know, like I'm going to get rid of candy, I'm going to get rid of sweets, and I'm going to offer that up for a certain intention, or I'm going to use it as a way to resist temptation. Those can be reasons to do penance. But also, you know, you can just do penance, just deny yourself for somebody else, you know, like enter into that conversation with them. And your mom says, hey, I want you to go out there and do the laundry. And you're like, but I got a lot of things I want to do right now. And you just deny yourself. So when it comes to penance, what does that look like in your life? Like denying yourself, mortification.
When I do penance, it's more of for my family members, like my mom, how you said, like she's a busy woman. She's qualified for sainthood for sure. I don't know. I just try and make life easier for her and deny myself whatever so that I can make her life easier. And sometimes my sister, I love her dearly, but she has wanted lots of attention lately. So it's like, okay, I'm moving away in a little bit. I guess I'll pause my TikTok so that I can hang out with you for a little while. And I don't know. I think it's good because I'm giving her that attention that she needs, and just making her feel loved by causing, I don't know, that by denying myself what I would rather do. So I think that's that. And I don't know, when I know someone that's like suffering physically or mentally, I try and take the pains of my life and offer them up for that person in prayer. Yeah. Because I know that they're in a little bit more pain than me. So I just try and do that to help them feel better. And yeah.
I think that's 2 great points. You know, when even in your specific situation, you're leaving for college in a couple of months. You know, if you look back on this time and it's like, dang, I spent so much time on TikTok. I wish I would have taken advantage of that time that I had with my siblings. But you're realizing it in real time. Hey, I need to be here because I'm almost going to be gone. You don't want to look back on it. So by denying yourself, you're actually going to reap rewards because you're taking advantage of the time that you have instead of spending time on TikTok. Now, if you could figure out the equation of how it works, if you could spend time with your family on TikTok, you could get what they want and what you want at the same time. But anyways. But and another excellent example of the self-denial and offering that up. I think that suffering is such a reality of life, and it's so hard for so many of us, but you're willing to take that suffering and not just let it go to waste. You're like, okay, I think it makes it easier to suffer when you have something to offer it up for, especially, you know how it is with high school students. You know, they go through a lot. There's so many of your friends on random parts of the year that are suffering, going through hard things. And you can, and even this word compassion, people talk about it like co-passion, like the passion of Jesus Christ on the cross. Like when you can like enter into that suffering with that person, you are truly modeling yourself like Jesus Christ, where you are entering into someone else's reality and their suffering, and you're truly having compassion on them when you're using your sufferings for their benefits. Excellent.
Yeah.
You have something? You were gonna say something?
No.
No. The last one of the things is study. And obviously you go to Scott, so you have, you know, a theology class with the variety of theology teachers they have there. But I'm talking about, you know, that's good, but I'm talking about more of outside of class things. Like, is there things that you do in your life where you're like diving into like little questions that you have or things that are unclear? How does that look in your life when you study your faith?
Right now, my study of faith has not been very good, and I can definitely do better, but I don't know. I try to surround myself with people who can help me, like I said, like with the whole friend thing.
Yeah.
But on Instagram, I follow like Sarah Swafford, and I watch her Instagram stories, and I listen to what she has to say. And I don't know. I've been like, when we had those small group things where we would study the Bible and go over the passages and stuff, that really helped me.
Yeah.
But right now I've kind of fallen out of that groove and that pattern of studying the faith. So I guess it's like, okay, I'm in this little rut, I got to get back into it, right, kind of thing. But
that's
yeah.
a great, and it really kind of talks to like how you have come to the faith. It's been from other people encouraging you like that. And that seems to be the reality. If you have questions, you're talking them over with your friends, you're looking at Sarah Swafford videos, you're going to Sarah Swafford's talk when she came to St. Pat's, and you're in the front row passed out like this, you know, because her shoes were so amazing, I guess. Were they nice shoes? I was talking about them the other night. So you're finding that other people really encourage, but now you're here in this lockdown-ish kind of thing, you know, and you're finding it this little bit more of a struggle to be encouraged. And it shows the necessity of a community in your life where they're encouraging you and building you up, and you're doing the same for them. So you bring up a good point. Yeah. Here's the last one. And it's about for parents. So I'm going to put this on the face pages, and there's hopefully going to be some parents that watch it and they're like, oh, what a sweet young lady that Avery Borngrebe is, you know. So if you could give some advice to parents, we're going to go with one negative advice and one positive advice for the parents, and just say, this is something that I've seen in my friend's life that never works. When parents try to do this to encourage their kids' faith, it never works. But then follow that up with a positive and be like, but when I see parents doing this in their child's life, you know, these seem to be things that really help their children grow in faith. Does that make sense? Like a negative and a positive for the kid's life, for parents? You got me?
Yes. So one of the negative things that I've seen parents try and do is to be overbearing about it and compare them to their friends and say, I wish you were more like them. Like, why don't you study your faith like this? Or why aren't you more interested? I guess that's a negative thing, but I guess one of the more positive things that they could do is to just accept them and like give them a little shove when you see that they're interested, I guess, or just introduce them to like-minded friends that they are, I don't know, just help them find a good support system of people so that they can grow in their faith at their own pace, I guess, because not everyone's going to be like a rock hard Jesus fan at age 16. So I guess just letting them go at their own pace, because some people convert at like age 30. So you never know what could happen with their faith. Yeah. So letting them just do their thing, but also pointing them in the right direction.
Yeah. That's a good point with You know, I think a lot of people say that you don't want to be overbearing, you know, but even in comparison, like I could see it being easy. Someone says like, oh man, I just watched this Avery Borngrebe girl on the face page and she is just so cool. Why can't you be more like her? Like, I wish my daughter was like her. And the reality is that's not going to happen. Like their daughter or their son isn't going to be like Avery Borngrebe, but finding ways. I mean, like not everybody wants to go to a blaze, but you're someone who does like to go to a blaze. And you do like to search out adoration. So fostering that and being like, okay, if that's how you connect with God, I'm going to do my darndest to facilitate that for you, not be overbearing, but facilitate and helping find other people that can come alongside you and help you in that journey. Like it's been so beneficial in your life.
Yeah. And finding ways that they like to worship has been really, like, I like praise and worship and I like adoration, but I know some people, they like silent adoration or they don't like adoration at all. They'd rather journal. So I guess nurturing those like ways of prayer and ways of worship is helpful to their prayer life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, if they didn't know who Avery Borngrebe was before this, they're going to know who she is now. Again, don't compare your daughters to Avery. Your daughters are beautiful in their own way. So take Avery's advice, but I'm glad that everyone got to meet you and find out what a great young lady you are. And hopefully if your mom watches it, she'll be proud. She'll be like, oh, that's my little mom. All right. Thanks, Avery.
Thank you. See you later.
Bye.